I'm Nathan.
And I am Lee.
Hello, Lee.
Just a different Lee. Some might say the original, the OG.
The OG. What, the old git?
The old git. Yes.
How the devil are you?
I'm very well. It's lovely to see you again. I haven't been on a bass show for months.
Years.
Probably. I hear you all going, thank goodness for that.
Yes.
What's today's thing?
Well, look, we're doing a bit of a comparison, look, because we've got the Squier Classic Vibe, precision and jazz basses.
Right.
And we've also got the G&L.
The G&L.
Well,
so there's a Leo Fender vibe going on here, is there?
I think that's what we're looking at.
And we're looking at Squier Classic Vibe, which is the sort of, I don't know, it's not the most affordable Squiers that you can buy, but it's the sort of, everybody says they're like the standout value guitars in the whole Fender range, Classic Vibe.
Yeah.
But G&L also have a thing called Tribute Series. Comes out the same country as Classic Vibe, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like their affordable version of their American instruments.
Right.
So, tell us about the jazz bass, Nathan. What is it that's made this such a, an iconic, endearing instrument for bass playing? Enduring, endearing, and endangering.
Well, the great thing about the jazz bass, I suppose, is the versatility. Because the P bass came first.
Didn't it?
Nothing else sounds like that, of course. P bass sounds amazing. But I think they wanted a bit more tonal variation. I mean, the P bass, you got a tone control, which traditionally just takes all the treble off.
In a good way, though.
Yeah, of course.
I like all those old Police bass lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But on the jazz bass, of course, suddenly you get two pickups. And, you've got one nearer the bridge, which gives you a much honkier, a jazzier, shall we say, sound, So you can just get a lot more tones out of it by combining the two different pickups, two volumes, one tone, classic jazz bass.
Get some tones out of that, because I'm interested to see, if you're not familiar with the G&L story, in 1965, Leo had built Fender up to be, the first proper mass production electric guitar and bass guitar in the world, and amps. I mean, it was like...
Didn't do a bad job.
No,
has to be said.
He is the pioneer, I think, the undisputed pioneer of electric guitar and bass instruments. But by 65, and there's a whole backstory as to why, but he sold it. And then he went on a different journey, and he did a little bit on his own, and he did a little bit with Music Man, but his first kind of real venture back into owning his own guitar brand was when he started G&L in 1980. Right. And then he ran that for 10 years and then passed away.
Okay.
So he's kind of, people will often look at G&L as kind of like, ooh, is that what Fender might have become? Who knows? But we'll never know.
Yeah.
But if we talk about the Squier, because that stayed relatively classic to an original jazz bass, and then we'll talk about what happened. What's different about the G&L, and do you like that or do you like this? Because the price is pretty similar.
Yeah, what is the price again?
So it's a little bit cheaper on the Squier. So these will be sub $350, and these are like $399.
Okay.
So there's like 50, 60 quid extra on the G&L.
But the Squier is the cheaper of the two.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, first impressions, I have to say, it's a really nice bass. The colour, I love this colour.
It's a wicked colour.
I've always wanted a bass or a guitar in this colour. I've never had it, and I think that's beautiful.
Blue with the tortoise shell.
Yeah.
I've got a thing about that. In fact, fans of Andertons will remember I like blue with a tortoise shell pickguard so much that one of our staff made me a T-shirt with a blue tortoise on it, and it was basically just awesome. It was anyway. We should reissue that T-shirt. It was a cool T-shirt. But that's why, because that colour combination is just so cool.
Yeah, and it's very good. Do you wanted to hear what it sounds like?
Yes,
you
please.
said.
Yes.
All right, well, starting off with the back pickup. That is the tone off, very Jaco Pastorius. Tone all the way up. And then front pickup, tone off. So more of your precision.
Yeah, it sounds more P-based, doesn't it?
both together.
Sounds great, man.
It's not bad, is it?
Terror bass sounds
I know.
good.
I'm terrified. So there you go.
Great. Okay, look, we're going to jump over to the G&L one now. I can tell you that Leo didn't change a lot when he did the sort of the jazz bass versions of it, other than he was a great pioneer of pickups. So these are G&L proprietary pickups, so they might sound a little different. And the biggest sort of visual thing, he was a huge believer in the transference of the kind of tone of the strings into the body of the guitar
You get that big
via
mass.
these kind of high mass bridges.
High mass bridge, yeah.
You can see his journey through, because he worked with Music Man in the early Music Man bass days as well. You can see his kind of his DNA in some of their guitars. So give that a little twirl, and we'll see what it sounds like, and then you can just sort of talk about how it
plays.
feels.
Yep. So same idea with this. Back pickup, tone off.
Is it louder?
It is louder.
Yeah, a little bit honkier.
It is
Sounded
definitely
like a little
louder.
bit brighter as well, even
brighter.
with the tone rolled off.
It's louder. It's driving the amp a bit more because it's louder. Front pickup.
A lot pokier, isn't it?
Isn't
on
it?
that
Yeah.
front pickup.
A lot more output. Both pickups then. Yeah, they do sound very different, don't
It
they?
felt marginally heavier when I passed it to you, which, to be honest, you could just be things like the bridge.
It's a little feel.
It's got the same.
Yeah.
Is it a slightly bigger body? The little tiny bit deeper, maybe. It's got all the same kind of belly cut contours. Fender.
I know what you mean.
Thickness-wise, the Squier uses a neck plate. The G&L's just kind of drilled straight into like a recessed hole on the body. It's pretty much the same.
Pretty
isn't
much
it?
the same, but I know what you mean. It does feel a little bit heavier.
Is there a bit more wood on the neck on that? Maybe a little bit chunkier.
I think that's fair to say. Not massively though, because it still plays very nicely. It's still got a nice jazz bass neck.
Same kind of open gear tuners, are they? What have you got on the back of that one?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes
open
indeed,
gear.
and lacquered neck on both.
Yeah.
Which I'm not normally a fan of, but actually I don't mind them on either of these. It's quite nice.
You have got colour options on both ranges of basses. In fact, the classic Vibe series, in fact, has a 50s, 60s, and 70s variants across the jazz and the P bass.
Okay.
The G&L doesn't really do that. The G&L just has different colour options. Although what you will notice on the G&L, some of them have just got the dot inlays, some of them have got the block inlays. So you're getting a little bit of a 60s and a 70s kind of reference there.
So you've got the binding on the edge and the blocks.
But that's not on every colour. That's just, I think, on you choose that as what you sort of fancy.
Right. Because this one.
Yeah, so that goes
Not
dot.
bound neck and dots.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we jump onto the P basses, any sort of preference, or are you even a jazz man?
Well, yeah.
What's your Sire bass? Is that jazz?
It is a jazz.
It's a jazz
bass.
style, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Of course, that's active preamp, so you can. That's got loads and loads of tonal possibilities with it. But as a regular jazz bass, that's authentic.
Yeah.
I think this just gives it a slightly more modern sound. You know what I mean?
We should mention that what we're not trying to do here is take these two basses and suggest that this is what you
one's
should buy
better
if
than
you've
the
got
other.
sort of
No.
300 or 400 quid. There's lots of other great brands that make Sire, Ibanez, Yamaha. Sure, there's other brands as well that are worth considering. We just did this because of the sort of the Leo Fender connection.
Well, and the similarity with the price and the build and all that sort of stuff.
One of the things that's interesting, if you look on this bridge that Leo Fender designed was called a saddle lock bridge.
Right.
And the idea, he used to feel that because essentially these kind of old-fashioned style bridges, there is a little bit of play and movement or ability for the saddles to move a bit over time, so they might separate and whatever. And
Sure.
he was this believer that, again, what you really wanted was this most solid lump of mass here to keep the strings vibrating for as long as possible, rather than losing any vibration through there. So the little very ingenious and simplistic Allen key thing that, I don't know if you can see just on this side, that shunts all the saddles together,
Holds
to
them in
just
place.
hold them in place. And that's not a tuning thing, that's just to stop the thing vibrating.
Yeah.
And I think that bigger bridge has been adopted by most modern bass manufacturers now as yes, you know, remember the badass bridge was often retrofitted, wasn't it, to bass guitars as an upgrade.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's the Jazz. Shall we have
a look at the Ps?
We should have done this the other way around, really, because the P came first, didn't it?
You fancy
Which
a P,
came first,
Lee?
the P or the J?
Oh.
Here we are, back again in the room with the OG. Of electric bass guitars, the P bass. Classic vibe, again, killer value, under £350, so cheaper, a little bit cheaper than the GNL, though not gigantically.
Is it the same price point as the Jazz?
I think these are $399 as well, yeah.
Okay.
And it's all the same story, really. It's kind of, you know, Leo hasn't, there's not a huge departure from the original one. High mass bridge, their own pickup again. This...
Ooh, look at that. It's a six-bolter.
More bolts. Yeah, it's like racing cars with more wheels. They must be better, right? But this is, you know, it's impossible to ignore the fact that a zillion amazing bass players made amazing music on that.
It's very true.
Guitar. So,
yes.
And you're going to be the zillion and first to make some amazing music on that guitar.
Let's have a celebration. Surely I deserve a prize for that.
Come on. So take us through.
Well, it's not going to take long. One pickup, split, tone off. Sounds like this.
Can I, just because we've got the feature and that's the sort of sound, if I flippity-flip this button down, can we get some of that old dirty... Let's have a listen.
Do your gain up.
You play that Stranglers thing again, it's like it's proper. Why is it that all the old simplest lines are just the best ones? What a line! That tune is just... You can't listen to that without feeling like life is good.
It's very cool, isn't it?
It's a cool thing. So anyways, that's the P bass.
Yeah.
And was that all the tones, basically?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, the tone really is just treble off with the P bass, you know, which is fine. That's got its place. And then, of course, the rest of it's just how you play it.
Yeah.
With your fingers or the pick. And if you mute it... Fingers...
It's great. There's something wonderful about the P bass. I think the
I
simplicity
agree.
of it.
I
But
totally agree.
let's have a little look. So the GNL version is the LB 100. We were trying to decide what the L was for. We think Leo's bass 100, but it could be anything.
Okay,
Feel free
because
to,
this one's the Jazz version's called the JB.
Yes, I think he got away with JB. I don't know why the PP.
The PP.
That would be bad.
Don't take the PP. Leave the PP. Right. So, what does this one sound like? I hear you scream. Again, hotter.
It is hotter, isn't it?
Definitely hotter.
to say hotter and tighter, isn't it?
Hotter, a bit brighter.
It looks at the nut in here like this neck is wider, but that's a visual observation. If there is any other way of observing something other than visually,
Well, you could be right.
am I making that up, or does it feel different to play?
It's so difficult. I think it is a little bit, actually. Yes, I think you're right.
A little bit,
but not enough to make it unpleasant or anything like that. But yeah, you're right. I think it's a bit chunkier.
a little bit chunkier. Again, colours will come across the screen as if by magic now, because I think there are options on the GNL range for either a dark colour. They use this Brazilian cherry wood, which is one of their sort of rosewood alternatives. I think you've got choices on here, and again on the Squier you've got this idea of, I think, 50s, 60s and 70s, or is that just the jazz bass? Hey, I don't know. The pictures on screen now will display all the variants of a classic vibe P bass.
Nice. And what's this? Because you were saying...
Well, it says older on the spec, but it looks like ash.
Don't know.
But I don't know. The spec says Alder.
Well, there you go. Maybe it's Alder.
My local vet's is called Mr. Alder.
Is he?
Yes, not Mr. Ash, Mr. Alder. Yeah. There's no gag there. He just is.
There should be. There will be. Give me time and I'll think of one. Anyway.
Well, there we are. So come on, Nate. It's really. Is it player's choice? Is it just a question of try and both and see what you like, or have you got a definitive I prefer X?
Do you know, I don't. I'm not just playing devil's advocate. They are different. I'm drawn towards the Squier because it's more classic Fender looking and sounding. But I also like the more modern sound of these. The GNLs, so
the GNLs have all felt heavier.
Yes,
so whether that's a consideration for you, if you're not into your heavy kind of basses, you might want to consider that.
Yeah.
I'm sort of trying to decide whether or not I think, because GNL's headstock changed quite a lot over the years as well. This is the sort of the current vibe with this sort of sticky outy bit, but it was it was much more bulbous and inelegant.
It's very difficult with a headstock, isn't it? Because I mean, that's a headstock
it's
right
classic,
there, isn't it?
It's
done or Les Paul.
Been on a million stages, hasn't it? Yes.
And then you could try and do a variation of it. But
I quite like that though. I quite like it. I mean, GNL, I think of a just the quality of the instruments they're putting out of both Indonesia and America, and the value you get is I think they know that they've got to kind of punch above their weight in terms of value. Otherwise, people will just buy Fenders and Squiers all the time.
Sure.
So I do think GNL is is definitely worth a look.
Yeah.
And I think we've demonstrated in here, if you're looking for a slightly punchier, more powerful, sort of hotter sounding bass, that might be where you go. I want to hear this with some. You can play us out with a bit of dirt.
Yeah, a bit of Stranglers.
Whatever, man, or Stranglers, or anything else with a dirty, fat, dirty bass line.
Dirty bass line. Oh my word! All right, I'll have a noodle with this, and you have a fiddle with the game.
I will.
And see what it does. Right, are we done?
We are.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Sorry for interrupting your Friday afternoon. Normal service shall resume shortly.
This has been all about the bass. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm Nathan.
And I'm Lee. See you next time.
See you again. Bye-bye. Right.